Clix has finally won his first FNCS trophy on LAN. After 8 years of competing, countless close calls, and never lifting a trophy, everything changed at the FNCS Pro-Am Creator Series 2026. So how did Clix and Lacy manage to outperform everyone else and finally lift the trophy? We all exactly know who Clix is, but anyway I'll tell you a short story about him. Since 2019, he's been one of the Fortnite's biggest professional players while also becoming one of the game's biggest content creators. His earnings and qualification for almost every major FNCS event speak for themselves. He consistently achieved top placements, but despite all of that success, there was one thing missing. He had never lifted a trophy at the LAN and never won a single either FNCS title. Lacy, on the other hand, became known primarily as one of Twitch's biggest serial creators. He had competed before Fortnite, but he wasn't that good to name him an actually a pro player. Also, he'd been playing the FNCS Pro-Am 2025 with Clix, where they finished 10th. And recently, Lacy came back to the Fortnite seriously to play tournaments with a pro, and not too many people thought he was really that good. He practices almost every day, and then Epic announced FNCS Pro-Am recently, and he teamed up with Clix there. They won the tournament, but we'll get to how they did in just a moment. The FNCS Pro-Am Creator Series featured 20 duos, each made up of one professional player and one content creator. They competed across 7 reload matches for a $50k prize pool. There was no elimination cap, so team could get as many eliminations as possible. And some people don't consider the Pro-Am equivalent to a traditional FNCS championship because there were no open qualifiers. Others still count as a FNCS title because it was official and FNCS Pro-Am. Either way, it was still a significant achievement. Whether you consider it FNCS title or not, it's up to you. Even so, winning wasn't easy. They still had to beat some of the best players in the world, including Peterbot, Poyon, Veno, Victory, and many others. But really, how did they manage to play that consistently? First of all, it all comes with their drop spot. They decided to drop the hostile hold, and they were dropping there every single game. And out of 7 games, every single game they won the O-spawn. They needed to be contested by Higgs if you look at the drop map, but they weren't always dropping on them. Clix has dropped it in the center of the spot, and Lacy was dropping close to him but one of the towers there. So if someone died, they could be in the different places and live like this, what worked it very good. Yes, contest wasn't always on them, like 3 games they were uncon and 4con, but like I said, it wasn't a problem. The biggest reason they won was their consistency. Across all 7 games, they never finished below 6th place. One thing I noticed almost immediately was how well Clix and Lacy played together. Their roles were very clear. While Lacy focused on looting and staying alive, Clix looked for early opportunities to get elimination. One of the best examples came in Game 6, where Clix picked up 4 early elimination while Lacy continued looting the drop spot. Before rotating, they always made sure they had everything they needed: materials, ammo, heals, and mobility. That led to another one of their biggest strengths: rotations. Their rotates were surprisingly similar every single game. Since Hostile Hold had launch pads nearby, just like many others POIs, they usually combined a launch pad with overdrive grenades and feast to travel huge distances safely, sometimes even in the middle or late game. If they had a launch pad in their inventory, they would use it to fly so high above the map that you couldn't even see the builds below them. At times they were around 350 meters above the ground, staying in the air for almost a minute. Because they always had mobility, rotating into the next zone was rarely a problem, and that helped them consistently reach the late game. And that's exactly why their placements were so good from the very beginning. They weren't getting nearly as many eliminations as some of the other top teams. Victory and his teammate finished the tournament with 63 eliminations, while Veno and Ron had 51. Meanwhile, Clix and Lacy only had 35, but eliminations weren't what made them win. They won because they were simply more consistent. Throughout all 7 games, they never finished below 6th place, placing 6th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd, 1st, 3rd, and finally 2nd. They constantly collected placement points while the other teams had much more inconsistent results. Another huge reason for that were their chemistry. Clix was clearly the IGL, while Lacy played more of the support role. And if you watch either of their POVs, you'll notice they were always together. Like really, I'm not even exaggerating. Outside of the planet early game splits, they rotated together, fought together, healed together, shared mats, and most of the time even got elimination together. They were just stuck to each other the entire tournament. Lacy constantly followed Clix calls, followed every rotate, dropped mats whenever Clix needed them, and made sure they stayed alive for the late game. That's honestly what made their chemistry so good. They also didn't end up playing the same endgame every match. In the first game they managed to control high ground for a long time. In game 5 when they won, they found themselves on high again, but in the other games they were completely comfortable playing mid ground or even low ground. Going to the final game, Clix was leading the tournament with 373 points, while Victor V was right behind him with 354. A 90-point lead sounded good, but it still wasn't enough to guarantee the win. One huge game could completely change the leaderboard. The last game was absolutely crazy. Some people expected Peterbot to contact Clix off spawn, but surprisingly he didn't. Instead another duel landed nearby, but they eventually back off without causing any real problems. Clix and Lacy played another incredibly clean game, finished with 5 eliminations and 2nd place. Victor V had another huge performance with 10 eliminations, but only made it 4th place. In the end, Clix and Lacy finished the tournament with 438 points, while Victor V ended on 424. It wasn't luck, it was 7 games of consistently great chemistry, smart rotation, and disciplined decision making. Maybe this wasn't a traditional FNCS championship, but beating a lobby field with players like Peterbot, Poyo, Vena, Victor V, and Moss was far from easy. Also, as Clix and Peterbot later said, Peterbot eliminated Victor V 5 times throughout the event, and those fights probably had a big impact on the final standings.
I killed Victor V 5 fucking times. Holy shit. It might be a time for a Rolex. Might be a Pete Rolex. Holy fuck. You're welcome, bro. Thanks, bro.
After 8 years of competing, Clix finally lifted his first trophy on LAN alongside his best friend Lacy. And whether you personally count the Pro-Am as FNCS title or not, they still walk at the event as champions. And Wiz even got the FNCS champion pickaxe. That's how Clix and Lacy won the FNCS Pro-Am. Hope y'all enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.